Dr. Ethan Miles had never expected his evening to become the strangest night of his life. The day had been long, filled with endless calculations, holographic projections, and interstellar research reports at the Orbital Research Station. His work involved studying distant planetary systems and searching for signs of intelligent life. He loved it, yet sometimes the isolation left him longing for the simplest comforts of home. That night, the comfort he sought was a warm shower in the quiet of his apartment on Earth. Ethan stepped into the small tiled bathroom, letting the water cascade over his tired body. The sound of water rushing against the walls was soothing, a small bubble of normalcy in a life filled with the extraordinary. He closed his eyes for a moment, allowing himself to relax. He had no idea that normalcy was about to vanish entirely. A faint shimmer of movement near the doorway caught his attention. At first he thought it was his imagination, a trick of the bathroom lights. But the shimmer grew, forming into a small, glowing figure that blinked curiously at him. Ethan froze, heart pounding. The figure was unlike anything he had ever seen. A tiny girl no taller than 3 feet, with luminescent blue eyes and skin that seemed to shimmer like liquid silver. Her hair floated slightly as if weightless, and tiny light particles orbited around her like miniature fireflies. She was staring at him, her expression a mixture of fear and curiosity. Ethan's mind raced. He had studied aliens in theory, imagined them in simulations, even seen holographic images of distant species. But nothing could have prepared him for this. The girl raised her hand slightly, not in threat, but as a cautious greeting. Ethan realized she meant no harm. Slowly, carefully, he lifted a hand of his own, showing that he was unarmed and friendly. The girl's eyes widened in relief, and she shifted her gaze to a small device clutched in her hands. It hummed softly, flickering with strange symbols he could not read. She pressed a few buttons and a faint blue holographic display appeared, showing images of planets, stars, and complex lines connecting them. Ethan realized she was some kind of traveler, possibly a scientist or explorer, and that the device was a map or a communicator. Ethan spoke gently. "Hello, I don't know your language, but I won't hurt you." The girl's eyes flickered as if trying to understand. She mimicked his movements, raising one hand, then pointing at herself, then at him. Ethan nodded, catching on. She wanted to communicate. After a few minutes, Ethan managed to offer her a towel. Hesitantly, she wrapped herself in it, her shimmering form glowing faintly through the fabric. She tilted her head, studying the human invention that seemed so ordinary to him. Something as simple as a towel fascinated her. Ethan chuckled quietly. This tiny visitor, lost in a world so different from her own, reminded him of a child discovering Earth for the first time. He guided her to a chair in the living room and gestured for her to sit. The girl, whom he would soon think of as Luma, mimicked the movement with remarkable precision. Ethan went to his desk and pulled out a tablet, displaying shapes, symbols, and images of common objects. He drew a circle and pointed to it, then pointed at Luma. She smiled faintly, touching the circle. Slowly, they began a rudimentary form of communication. Hours passed as Ethan tried different methods, sounds, images, gestures. Luma was intelligent beyond measure. She understood quickly, often mimicking him perfectly or responding in ways he had not anticipated. She pointed to the sky outside the window, then to the stars in her device, showing him her origin and her journey across the cosmos. Ethan marveled at the complexity of her technology. This tiny being had traveled light years, possibly through a form of teleportation or portal technology, arriving at his apartment almost by accident. "What brings you here?" Ethan asked softly, though he knew she could not understand words. He pointed to her device, then to himself, trying to convey that he wanted to help. Luma tilted her head and pressed a glowing button on the device. The hologram expanded, showing Earth's continents and a glowing dot pulsing where Ethan's city was located. She seemed to be saying that her arrival here was intentional, guided by curiosity or a mission of observation. Ethan felt a mixture of excitement and responsibility. This was no ordinary visitor. This was a living, thinking being from another world. He had read about humans encountering extraterrestrial life, but it had always been theoretical, something distant and improbable. Now it was real, and she had chosen him. He decided to make her comfortable. He fetched blankets, water, and a few simple snacks. Luma's fascination with Earth's objects grew with each passing minute. She poked at the water bottle, lifted it carefully and examined the label, tilting her head as if trying to understand the language. Ethan laughed aloud, the sound echoing in the apartment. For the first time in years, he felt the kind of wonder he had experienced as a child gazing at the stars. They spent the next few hours exploring simple ways to communicate. Ethan drew a sun and moon, a tree, a house. Luma copied them, her glowing fingers tracing the shapes in the air before they appeared on his tablet. She pointed at herself, then at him, then back at her device, trying to tell him something he could not yet grasp. He noticed a series of numbers and symbols repeating, a pattern that suggested she had recorded data about Earth during her arrival. As the night deepened, Ethan realized something important. Luma was not only curious, she was cautious. Her every movement was careful, almost precise, as if she were studying him as much as he was studying her. She observed his reactions, the way he spoke, the way he moved around her. It was a level of intelligence that humans often underestimated in alien life forms. Suddenly, the device in Luma's hands beeped loudly. The holographic display changed, showing multiple points moving toward Earth, approaching at incredible speed. Ethan's heart raced. These were not natural objects. The lights moved with purpose, as if tracking Luma. She looked at him, her eyes wide with worry. He understood immediately. Someone or something was coming for her. Ethan had to think fast. He grabbed his tools, his portable lab equipment, and began improvising. Luma watched him with fascination as he assembled devices, sensors, and simple traps. She mimicked his movements, occasionally pressing buttons on her own device that enhanced his technology in ways he couldn't fully comprehend. Together, human and alien worked in perfect synergy. Minutes turned into hours as they prepared for the unknown. Ethan marveled at her intelligence and quick learning. Luma seemed to understand the basic principles of human technology almost instantly, combining it with her advanced alien knowledge. She was not just a visitor. She was a collaborator, a student, and a teacher all at once. By the time dawn approached, the apartment had transformed into a small command center. Screens displayed moving objects outside, their trajectory slowly approaching the city. Ethan looked at Luma, seeing determination in her glowing eyes. They were facing something far beyond ordinary human experience, yet he felt a strange calm. Humanity had survived countless challenges through ingenuity, courage, and empathy. Perhaps, he thought, that same spirit would guide them now. Luma pressed her device again, and a faint holographic map appeared, showing a hidden location deep in the city. It seemed to suggest a safe place, a portal or escape route. Ethan nodded. They had a plan. The first night of their encounter was over, but the adventure was only beginning. For the first time in his life, Ethan felt the true weight of possibility. Earth was no longer isolated, and humans were no longer alone in the universe. And yet, amid the fear and uncertainty, there was wonder, a reminder that life in any form could inspire awe, curiosity, and hope. He looked at Luma, who mimicked his gaze at the sky, and smiled. The tiny alien girl had walked into his life unexpectedly, but she had already changed it forever. The city outside remained quiet, oblivious to the extraordinary encounter taking place in a small apartment. But Ethan knew one thing. The universe had just reached out, and humanity had a choice, to be afraid or to rise to the challenge. And Ethan, for all his years of study, knew exactly what he would do. The morning sun filtered through the thin curtains, casting a warm glow across Ethan's apartment. The night had been long and strange, filled with wonder, fear, and discovery. Ethan sat at his desk reviewing the small device that Luma had brought with her. The alien girl, still wrapped in the soft blanket he had offered, watched him intently. Her eyes sparkled with curiosity, and every so often, a tiny light flickered along her skin, signaling her emotions. Ethan realized that their first night together had only scratched the surface of understanding. Luma was intelligent, far beyond anything he had expected. She was not just exploring Earth. She was learning, observing, and processing information at an incredible speed. Yet she could not speak his language, and he could not understand hers. Communication would require patience, creativity, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. He started with drawings. On his tablet, he sketched simple objects: a cup, a chair, a plant. Luma followed suit, tracing shapes in the air with her glowing fingers until they appeared on his screen. At first, the shapes were crude, But as they repeated the exercise, the drawings became more detailed. Luma pointed at a tree on the screen and then at herself. Ethan nodded, realizing she was trying to explain her world by comparison to his. She wanted to share knowledge, not just receive it. Next, Ethan tried sounds. He tapped out rhythms on his desk, simple beats and tones. Luma imitated him perfectly, her small hands moving with precision and grace. When he changed the rhythm, she adapted instantly, adding subtle variations that he had never considered. Ethan laughed in amazement. Despite being from two entirely different worlds, they were finding common ground. Music, rhythm, and shapes were bridging the gap between human and alien minds. Hours passed, and the apartment filled with holograms, sketches, and patterns of light. Ethan realized that Luma's species might rely on visual and energetic communication, not spoken words. Every flicker of her skin conveyed meaning. Every movement was precise and intentional. She was not only intelligent but also patient and observant, learning faster than he had ever imagined. As the day went on, Ethan began to teach her about Earth. He showed her images of animals, plants, cities, and human inventions. Luma's eyes widened at the variety, especially the way humans had shaped their environment. She reached out to touch the holographic trees and animals, fascinated by the colors and textures. Ethan watched her with a mixture of awe and pride. Here was a being from another world, capable of interstellar travel. Yet she approached his planet with curiosity and respect, not fear or aggression. When he showed her a mirror, Luma's reaction was priceless. She stared at her own reflection, touching the surface and then her glowing skin. She tilted her head, trying to understand the strange reflection. Ethan chuckled quietly, realizing that even the simplest human inventions could fascinate an alien mind. Luma's curiosity was insatiable, and he began to feel a deep connection forming between them, built on mutual wonder and trust. But as they explored, a sudden vibration from her device interrupted the calm. Tiny points of light appeared on the holographic map, moving closer to Earth at alarming speed. Ethan's heart sank. The lights were not natural. They moved with intelligence, tracking Luma's location. He had a sinking feeling that she was being pursued. Luma's small body shivered and her glowing eyes grew wide with fear. She pressed buttons on her device, trying to communicate the urgency. Ethan understood immediately. They were not alone and danger was approaching. Ethan took a deep breath. Panic would not help. He needed to think and he needed to act quickly. Using his knowledge of human technology and the limited alien tech Luma had brought, he began improvising. He grabbed sensors, wires, and small devices from his lab, setting up a network of alarms and decoys around the apartment. Luma watched him with intense focus, occasionally tapping her device to amplify his setup. Together, human and alien worked in perfect synchronization, blending intuition and advanced knowledge. They tested the system, and Ethan was impressed. Luma's input improved efficiency beyond his expectations. She had an uncanny understanding of energy, light, and motion. Every adjustment she suggested enhanced their defenses. Ethan realized that the collaboration between human creativity and alien intelligence could achieve things neither could accomplish alone. He felt a surge of pride in humanity's ingenuity. Humans might not have advanced technology like hers, but their creativity, adaptability, and problem-solving were unmatched. By midday, the apartment was transformed into a small command center. Ethan and Luma observed the holographic map, tracking the approaching lights. The fleet was getting closer, moving with precision and purpose. Ethan realized that they needed to move soon. Staying in the apartment was no longer safe. He explained this to Luma using gestures and diagrams, showing her the map and pointing toward a location in the city. She nodded, understanding the plan without hesitation. Ethan led Luma through the city, careful to avoid crowded areas. The lights in her device pulsed, guiding them to a hidden alleyway that connected to an abandoned subway tunnel. As they moved, Luma's fascination with human life continued. She observed traffic signals, vending machines, and even the simple patterns of pavement. Every detail was new to her, yet she absorbed it all with quiet intensity. Ethan smiled, realizing that humans' ordinary world could be extraordinary through an alien's eyes. In the tunnel, they paused. Ethan set up a temporary barrier using wires and small devices to slow any pursuers. Luma pressed a button on her device and a holographic map of the city appeared. Together they planned their next move. Ethan suggested a series of decoys, simple projections of light to mislead the approaching drones. Luma enhanced the projections with her alien technology, creating shimmering illusions that moved like living beings. It was a masterpiece of collaboration, a combination of human cunning and extraterrestrial brilliance. As night fell, they continued moving through the tunnels and hidden passages beneath the city. Luma's curiosity never waned. She paused to examine dripping water, tiny insects, and even the patterns of dust on the walls. Ethan realized that her fascination with Earth was not just scientific, it was personal. She wanted to understand, to experience, to connect, and in turn he found himself learning from her, seeing the world anew through her glowing, shimmering eyes. Eventually, they reached an underground chamber that seemed untouched by humans. Luma pressed a series of buttons on her device and a portal shimmered into existence. Ethan stepped back, watching in awe as the gateway pulsed with energy. This was the way home, the path that would lead Luma back to her world. He realized the significance of the moment. She had chosen to trust him, to rely on a human to guide her safely through danger. Before she stepped through, Luma turned to Ethan. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever, and she raised her hands in a gesture of farewell. Ethan mimicked the gesture, feeling a strange mix of sadness and pride. In that moment, he understood something profound. Humans had something unique in the universe. Their creativity, empathy, and courage could touch even beings from distant worlds. Luma's trust was a testament to that truth. The portal pulsed once more, and with a final glance, Luma stepped through. Ethan watched as the shimmer faded, leaving only the faint glow of her presence behind. He felt a strange emptiness, but also a sense of hope. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer theoretical. They had made contact, formed a connection, and demonstrated qualities that even advanced civilizations could respect and admire. Ethan returned to the surface, his mind racing. The city was quiet, unaware of the extraordinary events that had unfolded beneath its streets. He looked at the device Luma had left behind, still humming softly, and realized that this was just the beginning. Earth would not remain hidden for long, and humans would need to rise to the challenge. Yet for the first time he felt confident that they could. He thought of Luma, the tiny alien girl who had walked into his life unannounced, curious and fearless. She had brought wonder, challenge, and a reminder that the universe was far larger and more mysterious than he had ever imagined. And she had shown him in the simplest yet most profound way that humans were capable of greatness. As he sat on the rooftop, gazing at the stars above, Ethan felt a surge of excitement. The galaxy was vast, full of unknowns and possibilities. Humanity's journey was only beginning, and the lessons of this night, curiosity, creativity, trust, and courage, would guide them forward. And somewhere across the stars, Luma watched too, carrying the memory of Earth and the spirit of its people back to her world. The hidden portal shimmered faintly in the dim light of the underground chamber. Ethan glanced at Luma, who was watching the swirling energy with a mixture of hope and concern. He could sense her excitement, but there was also tension in her small frame. Something told him their journey was far from over. The devices she carried hummed softly, each flicker of light a reminder that someone or something was tracking her. Ethan had barely caught his breath after the night in the apartment and the long trek through the city tunnels. His mind raced, trying to anticipate what challenges lay ahead. The city above appeared peaceful, but he knew appearances could be deceiving. Advanced alien drones were intelligent, and even with Luma's help, they would not give up easily. He looked at the portal. It promised safety for Luma, a way to return home. Yet it also represented a challenge. They could not simply step through and assume they were safe. Ethan turned to Luma, who raised her glowing hands in silent agreement. Together, they would face whatever came next. Before they could act, a sudden vibration shook the chamber. Small drones, no bigger than a basketball, skittered down the tunnel toward them. Their sleek metallic bodies reflected the dim light, and tiny sensors scanned the walls as they advanced. Luma pressed her device, and a holographic map expanded, showing multiple points converging from different directions. They were surrounded. Ethan's heart raced. He knew the drones were not designed to harm physically. They were retrieval units programmed to capture and contain. But they would not leave without her. Using his knowledge of human tech and the improvisation skills he had honed over years of research, he quickly scanned the chamber for materials to create barriers. Luma helped, her tiny hands manipulating energy from her device to amplify the traps Ethan set up. They moved in perfect sync, human ingenuity combined with alien intelligence. Ethan rigged wires across the tunnel, set small holographic decoys to confuse the drones, and created energy pulses to mislead the approaching sensors. Luma added shimmering light projections, making it appear as if multiple versions of her were in the chamber at once. Ethan smiled despite the danger. The combination of their efforts was remarkable. Humans were clever, and Luma's species was advanced, but together they were unstoppable. The first wave of drones arrived, navigating the confusing maze of light and sound. Some collided with holographic projections. Others were diverted by energy pulses. Ethan and Luma worked quickly, adjusting the traps in real time. He realized that humans often underestimated their own potential when faced with challenges. But here, under pressure, he had never felt more alive. One drone managed to bypass their defenses.
Skittering close enough to analyze Luma's energy signature,
Ethan acted instinctively, grabbing a small magnetic pulse generator from his backpack. He activated it, sending a surge through the drone. Its sensors overloaded and it spun harmlessly to the side. Luma's eyes lit up with delight, a brief smile on her glowing face. She had learned something new about human problem-solving, and she respected it deeply. They pressed forward, navigating the maze-like tunnels beneath the city. Ethan realized that the drones were adapting, analyzing patterns and predicting movements. He needed to outthink them, not just outpace them. He paused in a wide chamber, scanning the tunnels above with his portable sensors. He noticed weak points in the drone's approach, areas where the light and sound decoys were most effective. He directed Luma to place a series of shimmering holograms along these paths. As they moved, Ethan observed Luma studying his actions. She mimicked his gestures, learning human tactics and strategies. He realized that she was absorbing knowledge as much as he was teaching it. By the time they reached the next junction, she was ready to act on her own, placing holograms and activating energy pulses with precise timing. It was teamwork at its finest, a human mind and an alien mind functioning as one. Suddenly, a larger drone appeared. Unlike the others, it was sleek and imposing, with a central eye that glowed red. It seemed intelligent, assessing their strategies and adapting instantly. Ethan knew this was a test of human ingenuity, a probe designed to challenge the unexpected collaboration between him and Luma. The two moved carefully. Ethan used a series of mirrors and reflective panels to redirect the drone's sensors. Creating multiple illusions, Luma manipulated her device to amplify the reflections with light projections, making it appear as though dozens of targets were scattered across the chamber. The drone paused, processing the false signals, giving them a moment to advance. Ethan whispered, "Almost there. Just a little further." Luma's tiny hand touched his arm, glowing faintly as if to reassure him. They advanced step by step through the twisting tunnels. Every movement was calculated, precise, and yet intuitive. Ethan realized that humans often relied on intuition in addition to logic, a trait that gave them an edge even in interstellar conflicts. Finally, they reached a hidden stairwell leading to the city's surface. Ethan activated one last pulse generator, sending a wave of energy that temporarily disabled the pursuing drones. They climbed quickly, emerging into a quiet street bathed in moonlight. The city was calm, oblivious to the extraordinary events that had just unfolded below. Luma looked around, her glowing eyes reflecting wonder at the familiar human world from a new perspective. Ethan smiled, noticing her fascination. Even after traveling light years, she remained curious, eager to understand everything. Humans might take their world for granted, but to Luma, every object, every sound, every movement was a marvel. They paused near a small, abandoned building. Luma pressed a button on her device, and the portal shimmered into existence once again. It pulsed softly, a gateway back to her world. Ethan glanced at her, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness. He had grown attached to this tiny, brilliant being. Their time together had been short, but it had left a lasting impact. Before stepping through, Luma turned to Ethan. She raised her glowing hands, a gesture of farewell and gratitude. Ethan mirrored the gesture, feeling a deep connection that transcended language, species, and distance. In that moment, he understood something profound. Humans had a unique role in the universe. Their creativity, adaptability, and empathy could inspire beings from even the most advanced civilizations. As Luma stepped into the portal, A surge of light enveloped her. Ethan watched as she disappeared, leaving only the faint shimmer of energy behind. The portal collapsed, leaving him standing alone in the quiet street. He felt a strange emptiness, but also hope. Humanity had proven its worth not through weapons or power, but through ingenuity, courage, and compassion. Ethan looked at the device she had left behind. It hummed softly, a small token of her presence. He studied it carefully, realizing that it contained data, maps, and knowledge far beyond Earth's current understanding. Perhaps one day humanity would learn from it, but for now it was a reminder of what they had accomplished together. He walked back to his apartment, reflecting on the journey. The city above remained oblivious to the extraordinary events that had taken place beneath its streets. Humans went about their lives unaware of the challenges, wonders, and connections that awaited them in the vast universe. Yet Ethan knew that humanity's story was only beginning. The encounter with Luma was proof that humans could rise to any challenge, adapt to the unknown, and form bonds that transcended worlds. Sitting by the window, Ethan gazed at the stars. Somewhere across the galaxy, Luma was returning to her people, carrying the memory of Earth and the ingenuity of its inhabitants. The thought filled him with pride and determination. Humanity had potential, and the universe was vast, full of opportunities, challenges, and mysteries waiting to be explored. Ethan smiled faintly, placing the device on his desk. The hum of energy seemed almost alive, a reminder that the universe had many stories yet to tell, and for the first time in years he felt truly connected, not just to Earth but to the cosmos itself. Humans had a place among the stars, and they were ready to embrace it. The night passed quietly, but Ethan knew it would not be long before the universe called again. The lessons he had learned from Luma, creativity, collaboration, courage, and curiosity, would guide him in the days ahead. Humanity had shown its potential, and now the galaxy would take notice. And somewhere, beyond the stars, Luma's journey continued, carrying with her the story of a human who had seen her as more than an alien visitor. He had seen her as a partner, a friend, and a mind to be inspired by. And in that connection, both human and alien had discovered something extraordinary: the limitless power of understanding, trust, and collaboration. Ethan stood quietly at the edge of the hidden alley, watching the portal shimmer softly in the moonlight. The city around him was still, unaware of the extraordinary events that had unfolded beneath its streets. Luma, the tiny alien girl who had changed everything about his perception of life and the universe, hovered near the portal. Her glowing skin reflected the light, her eyes shimmering with intelligence, curiosity, and a faint trace of sadness. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Words were unnecessary. They had learned to communicate through gestures, images, and the unspoken understanding of shared experience. Ethan watched her small hands move over the device, adjusting the portal's energy flow. She was meticulous, precise, yet hesitant. She did not want to leave, not because she feared danger, but because of the bond that had formed between them. Ethan stepped closer. You don't have to go alone, he said softly, though he knew she might not understand the words. He mimicked the gesture, placing a hand over his heart and then pointing toward her, trying to convey trust and friendship. Luma tilted her head, her glowing eyes reflecting the stars above. She touched her chest and then his, a silent acknowledgement of connection. The portal pulsed again, a rhythmic shimmer that seemed almost alive. Ethan realized that this was not just a passage through space, it was a gateway between worlds, between experiences, and between understanding. Humanity and Luma's species were connected now, not by politics or technology, but by something far more fundamental: trust and curiosity. He thought back to the first moment she had entered his apartment, the shimmer of light that had startled him, and the way her eyes had mirrored fear and wonder. So much had happened since that moment. The night in the apartment filled with drawings and holograms, the chase through the tunnels, the clever combination of human and alien ingenuity. It had all led to this final moment, the culmination of their shared journey. Luma's device beeped softly, indicating that the portal was stable. Ethan watched as she floated closer, her small form glowing brighter with anticipation. He could sense her excitement, her longing to return home, but also her hesitation. She had learned to trust him, and leaving meant stepping away from that trust. Ethan felt the same tug, a wish that the extraordinary connection they had formed could last longer, that the lessons they had shared could continue. He knelt down to her level, mimicking the way she had watched him in the apartment, learning from his movements. "You've taught me so much," he said quietly, though he knew she might not grasp the words in full. He pointed to her eyes, then to the stars, then to his heart. It was a way of saying, without words, that he understood her, that he respected her, and that he would never forget this experience. Luma raised her hands, palms open, a gesture Ethan had come to recognize as her way of showing gratitude and acknowledgement. She touched the device again, and a small holographic projection appeared between them, a glowing image of Earth and her home planet connected by lines of light. It was a visual message, a promise of return, a symbol of what their brief time together had meant. Ethan felt a surge of emotion. He had always been a scientist focused on logic, data, and observation. Yet now he understood something deeper. Connection, empathy, and understanding were just as important as intelligence or technology. Humans had a quality that even advanced alien civilizations noticed: curiosity tempered by compassion, ingenuity guided by morality. Luma had seen it, respected it, and responded to it. He looked around the quiet street, thinking about the city that seemed ordinary but had just been the stage for an extraordinary encounter. Humanity went about its lives unaware that one of its own had bridged a gap between worlds, that a bond had formed between species, and that the universe had recognized the value of human creativity and courage. Luma's device pulsed again, stronger this time, signaling that her homeworld was ready to receive her. She floated toward the portal, casting one last glance at Ethan. He stepped forward instinctively, reaching out a hand. She mirrored him, placing her glowing palm against his. The warmth of that connection, the silent understanding, conveyed everything words could not. As she stepped through, the portal expanded in a burst of soft light, enveloping her in a cocoon of energy. Ethan shielded his eyes, watching as she disappeared into the unknown. The portal shimmered for a moment longer before collapsing, leaving only the faint trace of energy in the air. He felt a strange emptiness, yet he knew it was not an ending. It was a beginning. Returning to his apartment, Ethan sat quietly, gazing at the device she had left behind. It hummed softly, containing data, images, and knowledge beyond Earth's current understanding. He realized it was more than a tool. It was a message, a bridge, and a reminder. Luma had left a part of herself behind, just as he had left a part of himself with her. Their brief encounter had created a connection that transcended distance, species, and experience. Over the next few days, Ethan studied the device carefully. It revealed insights about energy manipulation, interstellar travel, and the intricacies of Luma's world. Yet even more valuable were the lessons it imparted indirectly: the importance of curiosity, collaboration, and courage. Humans had potential that went beyond technology or strength. Their creativity, adaptability, and empathy made them remarkable in ways even advanced civilizations found inspiring. He thought about the chase through the tunnels, the clever traps, the holographic decoys, and the energy pulses that had outsmarted the drones. Luma had taught him that intelligence alone was not enough. Understanding, intuition, and trust were equally powerful. Humanity's greatest asset was not machines or weapons. It was the mind, guided by morality and curiosity. As weeks passed, Ethan found himself more attuned to the world around him. He noticed small details he had once overlooked: the way sunlight glinted off water, the subtle patterns in the clouds, the rhythm of life in the city. Luma had opened his eyes to a new perspective, a way of seeing the extraordinary in the ordinary. Her visit had been brief, but its impact was profound. He often wondered about her, imagining her floating through her homeworld, sharing stories of Earth with her people. Perhaps she had told them about the creativity and courage of humans, about the tiny apartment that had become a command center, about the strange and wonderful mind that had guided her through danger. Ethan smiled at the thought. Humanity had made an impression, not through conquest or power, but through ingenuity, empathy, and curiosity. One evening, as he gazed at the night sky, a faint shimmer caught his attention. It was subtle, almost imperceptible but unmistakable, a glimmer of light that seemed to hover among the stars. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. He could not be certain, but it felt like a greeting, a reminder, a connection. Luma had not forgotten, and perhaps in some way she was watching, acknowledging and encouraging. Ethan realized that the universe was vast and full of unknowns, but humans were not insignificant. They had proven that even a single individual, guided by curiosity and courage, could touch distant worlds, form bonds, and inspire wonder. Humanity's story was only beginning, and the possibilities were endless. He placed the device carefully on his desk, letting it hum softly. It was more than a relic. It was a promise. A promise that humans had a place among the stars, that their creativity and empathy were valued, and the connections, even brief and unexpected ones, could transcend worlds. Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of calm and purpose. The night had been extraordinary, and the lessons he had learned were profound. Humans were remarkable not because of their strength or technology, but because of their hearts, their minds, and their courage to face the unknown. Luma had seen it, acknowledged it, and in return had changed him forever. The city outside continued its quiet rhythm, unaware of the cosmic encounter that had taken place. Ethan knew that humanity's future would be shaped by countless moments like this, small acts of curiosity, courage, and understanding that would ripple across the universe. And somewhere beyond the stars, Luma carried the memory of Earth and the brilliance of its people, sharing it with a civilization that might one day welcome humans as equals in the cosmos. Ethan sat back, looking at the night sky, feeling a connection that spanned light years. He realized that life in any form had the power to inspire, teach, and transform. Humans had shown that they could rise to challenges, form bonds that transcended species, and face the unknown with ingenuity and courage. Luma had reminded him of that truth. The device on his desk pulsed gently, a subtle glow that seemed almost alive. It was a reminder that the universe was vast, full of mystery and waiting to be explored. Humans had the potential to reach beyond their world, to learn, to teach, and to connect. And Ethan knew deep in he whispered softly, "Thank you, Luma," though she was far away. Somewhere across the stars, he imagined her smiling, glowing, and remembering the tiny human who had seen her as more than an alien visitor. She had seen him too, and together they had discovered something extraordinary. The limitless power of trust, curiosity, and connection. And as the night stretched on, the stars above seemed to shimmer a little brighter, as if acknowledging the bond that had formed between Earth and the distant worlds beyond. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer uncertain. It had been recognized, celebrated, and re-spe.